Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm back. I'm back with Kathy. How you going, Kathy?
Yay! Good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, we finally got a chance to watch, I guess, one of the most acclaimed movies last year.
Yeah.
One of the,
Mhm.
I guess, biggest biggest blockbusters. It did make a lot of money,
Yeah.
from memory, and it was
Yeah.
very popular. But unfortunately, um, distribution wasn't the best, I would say, because I don't think it even came to cinema in
No,
Melbourne, and if it did, it came really late. So
didn't see it here. No
yeah,
way. Mm-mm.
not great, not great. And yeah, same with the US. So this movie was really locally bound to Kerala, it seems like.
Yep.
But yeah, we got a chance to see it. OTT. That's a great thing about streaming. So
I
we got
love
to
it.
see it on Amazon Prime, which is
Yep. I'm glad to see it succeed at the box office because it's not a big bombastic,
no.
loud, crazy action movie. The ones that they're kind of like the equivalent of the Marvel movies that are always the big hits. And then I feel like it inhibits making more adult, intelligent films like this, like low key dramas in the box office. So I was glad to see it do well because that means they'll make more. That's basically what happens. So that was great. It's cool to see a movie like this that wasn't easy and it was complicated in a lot of ways emotionally to have it catch on with audiences. So I was glad to see that.
Yeah, definitely. It was. I commend everyone that made this movie. Like, it's a sensitive topic that's not really. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never been covered before in even Malayalam cinema or other cinema. It might have been covered because I've not seen the whole depth of cinema, but it's definitely not one that's so common to be talked about, even in all cinema. I'm not just going to put it to Indian cinema. It's not something I see much even Hollywood, to be honest, discussed at this kind of level and done in this sort of delicate manner, which is quite sad. Like, we see a lot of.
Yeah.
I think we were talking yesterday. We have seen other sort of, I guess, LGBTQ plus movies from India as well. We had seen, I think there's some stuff from Bollywood, but they're a little bit more like on the, I guess I don't go into the sadness of sort of the situation, more the awkwardness of the situation or like the acceptance of somebody being, gay. But this is more like about somebody who's homosexual and not, who's actually lived a whole life, 20 years in a marriage. And just sort of had to go through that. And the kind of pain it puts on everyone around. And doesn't hold back from that. It really makes it's a sad movie. It's a sad movie from start to finish.
Very, very sad for everyone. I mean, he's had to be closeted. I mean, basically it concerns a politician who's running for office. And so his wife finally has had enough and just is like, I know you're gay. Basically, she doesn't say it out loud. They don't really ever say it till the court scene, really.
Yeah.
But she's like, I'll leave you. And then there's this sort of like, oh my God, what if everyone finds out? Or what if she talks? It's like, and then she has to file a petition to dissolve the marriage. So if he contests it, that means she didn't actually get the divorce, but it also means like any trial, all the evidence has come out why she wants to get divorced. So he can either agree and look like probably lose the election because he's being divorced, or he can try and fight it and look like he's a fighter and it's not, say it. But it's all politically motivated in a way. So that was kind of sad too. And then, because he fights it, all this comes out. So he's basically outed at the same time.
Yeah. That's the other really sad part.
That. Yeah. So it was sad because he had to stay closeted his whole life. And he still was kind of trying to play the part, even during the divorce, trying to keep it under wraps. And then when it came out, he just kind of looked kind of sad and not necessarily angry or shocked. I mean, there was no high emotion. It was mostly like very low key and like, and he was great at the expressions, but it kept sort of a distance through most of the movie because they wouldn't mention it and they wouldn't say it. And he was alone a lot and he didn't really show his wife any real affection. They kind of just lived in the house together and it was kind of like, but I wasn't quite sure what was happening until the courtroom scene, exactly. I mean, it seemed like an unhappy marriage, but at that point you didn't really know anything. So I was, but I did like the very restrained, sensitive performance that Mammootty gave because it could have been very, but he kept it super modulated. So that was kind of nice to see that.
Yeah, no, the subtlety was really great from Mammootty. And I think there's two things I want to talk about sort of Mammootty. One is the performance, but also the fact that he did a movie like this really helped to sort of give this movie and sort of this issue like publicity, I think, because it's, I feel like if there was anyone else that didn't have Mammootty's same stature, which I can only think of one other actor in the Malayalam film industry, the other guy starting with M, who probably has the same kind of level of stature.
Not Fossil?
I mean, maybe someone like that too, but I feel
Maybe
like
he could do it. He could do that.
oh,
Maybe he
definitely, yeah.
has. He seems like
But
he could do that.
yeah, no, just from a talent point of view, I think a lot of them could do it. Like I could see a lot of them pulling it off. But in terms of just pulling in the numbers, like putting Mammootty in a movie is just gonna get your eyes on it. And plus, just the way that Mammootty's playing this character was all I kept hearing about this movie.
Exactly.
you know, so then it's almost like bound to be like, this is something he's not done before. So let's go check it out and let's see.
Right.
What it's about. And turned out to be a pretty, good movie as well. So that was pretty good. But yeah, the performance was just really, really just, I mean, he was just like, he did this thing where he never like looked straight in the camera,
Yeah.
And that's sort of telling, like he's not sort of confident in himself. He's he's hiding something, which he really is.
Yeah.
And so he played that really well. And there was two scenes that were just absolutely just breathtaking, but towards the end, I think, when he just completely breaks down, one with the father character and one with his wife, which was just, oh my goodness, like if you don't feel emotion from that, then you have a heart of stone.
I know, and you could tell it was like they loved each other, but she couldn't be in that kind of a marriage. And that's why I like too, like when it all kind of comes out and his career's crashing and she's divorcing him and he comes to her at their house and she's like, let's sleep together tonight. Let's just sleep together, like lay next to each other, And I thought that was really sweet because it's like, she didn't hate him. She just said, sorry, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I gotta, I have needs basically. So she said, I have needs and you're not fulfilling that. And and that was fair, and that's why I loved the last scene where they're sitting together at a table. You don't really know why, and you realize that he's there while she waits for her blind date.
That
was so sweet. So they now they're just friends, and I thought that was that was a sweet, again, very low key. They didn't like broadcast it. They didn't make this big speech or anything. It was all very quiet and like, the whole movie was that way, very quiet and the simmering below the surface, like just really nicely done, really, really beautiful.
There's no, I guess there's no outrage directly towards Mammootty for who he is, which is Matthew, I guess his character name is. But there's no outrage towards him for what he's sort of for what he is. It's like we're not trying to blame you, and I do like how it sort of went into different areas. Obviously the political side, and they talked about, are you using this as a progressive thing to sort of push your agenda or like trying to push your...
That's what they always say.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's a common sort of thing that even happens now, I think. Like, oh, are you using this to your advantage? Which it clearly was not. And then the other side was also the church was involved and them trying to be like, hey, how can we help this? Which is very delicate.
We'll fix it.
Or trying to, I guess I did like how the priest was a bit like, this is a family issue. We can't really help you. So it wasn't, they didn't have a whole preachy thing about how this is wrong as a Christian or something like that. They didn't have any of that commentary, like I think in the movie, which was also good.
Right.
But you're right. Like even like the relationship with the daughter, she wasn't like angry towards him.
No.
They had the other side as well, the other family, I guess, with the other son.
Right.
I guess the other lovers, what do you call it? Sister. So his niece. Nephew. Sorry. So his nephew.
Yes.
Yeah, his nephew.
Yeah.
So he was basically, like he had a lot of times where he was being abused in like school and stuff like that for who his uncle was, not even his father, who his uncle was.
Right.
And we see that a few times, but even he just has a very contained performance, and he just just cries and he can't do much. And then there's a real tender moment with him as well when he's just hugs his uncle and tells him, after drinking too much or something like that, for a kid that's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So they did treat it delicately. It wasn't like I like that it wasn't anyone going like, you are wrong for doing this, and how dare you do this and all that stuff. It was like, let's treat this with nuance and let's treat this with care. But it's a sensitive topic, so I appreciate that.
It really is. And I saw a quote from someone. It was he's a Srilatha Naluli. He's a poet. He wrote like an open letter to Mammootty. He was a gay man who got out of a marriage as a closeted man. And I love his quote here. It says, I loved your expressions, constantly confused and almost scared. And I'm like, he goes, you have totally embodied what that feels like. And I'm like, that is what he was like. He wasn't angsty. He wasn't, it was always this kind of like, just in his eyes, there's this like, are they going to, I almost feel like, are they going to notice? Can they tell? Like, is it, am I giving myself away? And I feel like that was why he almost wasn't really great at eye contact. I feel like he thought, if I look at someone right in the eyes, they're going to see who I am. you know. So he was just living in this fear the whole time and repressed and hiding, and now it's all out.
Yeah.
And actually, I like how when he did come out, it turns out they were like, "Hey, man, you know," the guy comes over, come on over, and you know, we have this great community kind of thing. And it was like, you don't have to be by yourself. You know, so you don't have to do that. So I thought that was really cool too, is that just because this happened to you, it's not the end of your life, you know, which is it.
Correct.
So I thought that was great, especially in a climate where India, I think they just passed legislation that same-sex marriage
and they
respected.
Yeah.
But they turned down that you still can't get married legally, which I was like, yeah. So there's a little bit of that, like, no, we respect you being gay and all and having relationships, but no, you can't get married. Okay, great.
Is it decriminalized? Is that what it is, or something like that?
Yes, decriminalized.
Yeah, okay.
But still not legitimate. So it's this kind of weird gray area. So I feel like the film did a good job of kind of going between the two and seeing like what problems that can cause for people who are just trying to live their life. I mean, this guy just wants to be, you know, who he is. He can't, it's who he is. And I love that his father was accepting of it. You know, it was like, all of a sudden it was kind of like, this is why I couldn't connect with my son, because I didn't want to connect with that. I didn't want to see it. I knew the whole time, but and then when they connected, oh my God, such a great scene. So again, underplayed and beautiful, just that little hand on his shoulder. Oh, I get chills thinking about how good that was.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. The father also was exceptional. And so was Jyotika. I think both of them, like everyone was really good in this movie, but really those two had a lot of screen time as well. But the father was just always like just at a loss the whole time, just looking like with this glazed face and just like didn't even say anything for half the movie. He was that sort of contained.
He was just staring a lot.
Staring a lot, and then sort of just like, I think there's a moment as well where he talks to his daughter-in-law and tells, "Can you please drop the case? I've never seen my son like this." And then she basically says, "Look, I love you more than anything else. Like that's why I've stayed around. I like you more than my own father."
Yeah.
Which was actually quite beautiful as well. Good. So the movie has a lot of moments where you're like, wow, this is actually, you know, really, it's delving into that sort of sadness, but at the same time, like, you know, there's some happiness here and this is why we're still together kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think we definitely did like this movie, but I'm definitely going to say I did have some issues with this movie. From a filmmaking point of view. So I was trying to hold back on, I didn't want to go on a rant or anything like that. So I've intentionally held myself back and made sure I praise this movie as much as I can.
Well, it has things to praise. It wasn't perfect, but it had a lot going for it. Yeah.
It definitely does. But okay, so some of the things I really think did not work for me in this movie was how much they relied on exposition in this movie to basically just tell us about every single scenario. And we kind of talked about this situation. It's like we talked about by telling us everything. I just talked about how the father and the daughter-in-law had this great relationship. It's just told to us. They're not shown in any, they don't tell us any scenes of them actually having a good time together or having a good relationship together, or I don't know, maybe the father standing up for his daughter-in-law at any time. So we're just told, you know, you guys have a great relationship, accepted audience. Like, and it's like, okay, cool. And the performance was so good in that they make you convinced, but I would have loved for them to not rely on exposition so much. Same thing can be said, especially about Mammootty's relationships. So, you know, they talk about how Mammootty is in the relationship with his, you know, his wife. I would have loved to actually see, like, I think it would have been much more effective if we could have actually seen how bad that was. Like, how bad a husband was he actually? Like, obviously he wasn't fulfilling his marital duties and all that stuff, but was he absent? Was he abusive? Was he angry towards her? Was he bad towards his daughter? Was he not communicating properly? I would have been so good to actually see, like, him actually not be a good husband as well. And on the other side, the stuff we've talked about a lot is, like, I would have loved for them to actually show him with the other partner, because that would have given us such a good contrast. Yeah. Like, if everything is sad, then you're just sort of staying here. You know, if you have the elation of him being, you know, in a relationship and in love, and we see even through flashbacks or something like that, it would have been perfect, because I've been like, look at him here and look at him here. You don't need to tell me, like, this is a guy who's struggling. I can see it in front of me. So stuff like that. And also, like, they had this whole thing about a sensitive topic about the father basically forcing his son to basically get married at that time. And look, that's a very sensitive topic, because look, he's from a very older generation in India. Like, he's a grandfather. Like, you know, he's a grandfather, and he looks like an aged one too. Yeah. And it's a small community. So I can imagine this being a very sensitive topic, but I would have loved to see, again, that play out with maybe a younger Mammootty or something like that, to show that struggle between that, rather than just a moment where they have one like 3-minute scene to show like, oh, okay, I couldn't accept you. And then again, amazing performance, but it would have been done much better from a storytelling point of view if they showed us much more rather than just told us.
Well, it's the classic thing where you say, don't tell us, show us. And that's like the classic filmmaking thing that this movie did not do. So we didn't see a lot. We didn't see him with his partner really in any, and I'm only assuming I know who the partner was because of some certain looks once in a while. But I mean, but then that I'm not even sure. So like, I don't know if he's just a good friend that didn't know. It was hard to tell. And I think more so with the wife, I think it was kind of like benign neglect is what I got. Like he just wasn't there. He wasn't emotionally connected for her. He wasn't physical with her. It seemed like he was just gone a lot for whatever reason, just not around. It's like, I kind of get the impression she was just lonely, neglected, and that was bad enough. I mean, that was just like, I'm done with this. Like, you're running for office, you're gonna be gone even more. I can't even be your friend anymore. I gotta get out of this. Like, she just decided. So I think that I don't think he was abusive or anything, and I think that's why the kids were kind of supportive. He was that absentee dad, just wasn't around.
Yeah, I would assume that, but again, I think and like we're both using our imagination to try and think of that.
We haven't filled the blanks because they didn't show us.
They didn't show us. So I mean, I don't assume he was abusive either, but like it would have been so good to see actually how his absentee, like his being so absent, actually affected not just him, the kids as well, like his daughter, because his daughter also has this weird relationship with him. I guess like she's like at the first she's like says, I felt sad for you. And I was like, he didn't like that because he doesn't want to feel that kind of pity on him or anything like that for what he's gone through. Like there is a lack of understanding, and it would have been so good to actually show us how he's misunderstood in society and how being a gay man in society is actually something very difficult, and the pressures he had to have. Maybe them pushing him different. Maybe they could have shown a scene where they're showing him different prospective brides. And he was not able to connect with anybody, and they couldn't find out why he's not able to connect. I think they could have got a little more creative with the storytelling. I think the storytelling was very much like I feel like we have a great idea and let's push it out there. We have Mammootty, let's push it out there, and then we'll just not spend too much time on thinking about how to best convey this. So
I mean, it was pretty linear. It seemed like they picked a point in time and they just did that. And any background we pretty much got, like you said, from exposition. We got like what had happened. Like the courtroom scene pretty much filled in exactly what the problem was. And it was kind of, I felt like a little awkward to have that just, this is what it was. Like, I would rather have heard it from her, Mammootty and his wife than a lawyer confronting them about so how many times do you sleep together? Well, she goes 4 times, and she goes 4 times a week is a lot. You're fine. And she's like, no, 4 times total in 10 years or whatever, 20 years. So she's like, oh, that's not good. It was like, couldn't we have like heard that from the couple? Like maybe her talking to him about, but I felt like the separation between the characters in their lives felt that way on the movie too. And I didn't, you wanted to see more of them together and discussing it or talking or being in moments together, but mostly they concentrate on this election. I didn't really care about.
I didn't care about that. Yeah.
And so I was like, why are we in this political thing? I don't even care about it. And then the interesting part was happening kind of in the background. Yeah. They didn't really go into it. So that was my main beef, is that they didn't show enough of him with the man he maybe or men he'd been with, or how it started, or how they met, or what the relationship was like, or even a moment of happiness, like you said, like show him happy in that relationship that makes it so different from how he was with his wife, where he was just kind of hang dog all the time, I don't know. It just felt like, just a little bit, almost. You almost did, but you pulled your punches, and now we have a movie that's just a little less than it could have been. But still beautiful.
Definitely agree.
But restrained, very restrained. You could feel it wanting to go there, and it just couldn't do it.
I really think so. Like, I think I did not care about the election at all, to be honest. No. I could not give
it. Was super boring. Didn't care.
I didn't care, because the thing is, they didn't focus on that side at all. And by saying that, they didn't tell us why he even wanted to run for election. Like, I guess it's in his lineage or something like that. Like, his father was like the previous person, and he's running for office again. But what does it mean to him? And we don't know nothing about the opposition party at all, so we don't know are they good guys or the bad guys.
Against? Who knows?
Like, I guess even the end felt a little bit forced. Like, okay, fine, yes, he's been happy ending. Like, like he's won the election, everything like that. He's overcome adversity, and it's like
he won, even though he's gay. Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And then you're like, he won what? I'm not even sure. And also, didn't he expect anyone who's running for office expects a level of scrutiny that probably would have exposed his real life anyway? And so I feel like that was kind of a self-inflicted wound in a way. Like maybe that was his way of coming out of he wanted to confront it. I don't know. There were some unanswered questions in this film. A lot of unanswered questions.
Definitely. So I definitely do again, we do applaud this movie for what they've sort of done in terms of
very sensitive.
I guess breaking a new mold, or I guess trying to talk about something that's not talked about so much. Which I definitely appreciate. And it is a very sensitive topic, which I think they've done a good job of. But again, I didn't to be honest, even the court cases weren't that interesting to me. I was okay, you're in a court case and that's a way of shame, I guess. It's because we can't get it out of you. Because I think there's a scene where he's talking with the counselor and the counselor's like, I'll try talking to you, but you're not speaking to me. Again, I would have loved to see that play out a bit more. Just show us actually conversations. And, the counselor actually being like, hey, can I ask you this very sensitive question? You haven't talked about your wife at all. Are you actually like this? And, are you actually homosexual? And then him just sheepishly looking away and being lying, but not being convincing about it. I would have liked a lot more of that. This movie could have been done a lot better, I feel like. But, But come in, Mammootty. It's
it was great. Job well done. You sided with him. You were rooting for him. You wanted him to be happy. You didn't want him to be humiliated. It made me sad that that's even part of our life, that we have to humiliate people who are gay for no reason besides the fact they're gay, and it has no impact on anyone's life. I get that. I like that. And it seemed like there was a lot of personal experience that was in that script. I feel like from the writers and director. But I just wish it had just pushed it a little bit harder on and maybe shown a little bit more of why it was worth it to him to neglect his wife, leave her, be with a man, but not even show who that man was really. Why that was fulfilling for him. I just wanted to see that. I wanted to see him be happy. We never did, though.
Definitely. I think they could have put a bit more. I think they could have given the other character more screen time too. I think, I think they could have shown the struggles. They did show the struggles he was going through a little bit by sort of the abuse he was copying and things like that. But it would have been great to see him just we were talking before, show him actually in some times of happiness. And sort of what he's going through. But also, I don't know, they could have done this thing because I appreciate the realism in this movie as well, because I do think it's a smart decision by the director to be like, let's go for a small rural town where this issue is not talked about, and this issue actually could be real. I think if you choose a big metro city, I know, we talked about how it's not it's decriminalized and all that stuff in India, but I think in larger big metros, this is not as big of a deal. I think. I think if you go to Mumbai,
it's like any big city, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you go to
we're
Mumbai
still having struggles with it in America for some bizarre reason. I mean, they're still trying to legislate against gay people. Come on, guys.
Crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But in India, I think if you go to any Delhi, or if you go to Mumbai, Bangalore, these cities will have not as big of an issue with this. I would assume they will still have issues. Don't get me wrong, but in a small town like this, it will be just exaggerated so much. And I would love to just again seeing that seeing that play out a bit more for them to discuss that conversation, to be like, hey, this is an issue here and it's an issue, but there are places where it's gotten better or something like that, just to give us some perspective, to be like, maybe Mammootty considering maybe we just go somewhere else and live somewhere else where I can live that kind of lifestyle, or give us some other community, maybe show us how this is more affecting the community in other places too, how are other people dealing with it, for instance. They could have done.
I mean, nobody really seemed anti-gay there. I mean, we never really saw anyone who hating, saying anything or doing it.
No,
it was just sort of you're since and everybody went, okay. I mean, since there wasn't really a big uproar, he wasn't really fighting against people harassing him or anything. No. So it was a little too quiet for its own good.
Yeah.
So that's my only complaint. But again, I did really enjoy seeing Mammootty do it. I'm glad he did it. I think it was a good. Again, I feel like the movie is made for people who would be maybe offended if they saw anything, but want to appreciate and sympathize, but at the same time don't want to see it. It's a weird thing, but sometimes people, So I think they really want to draw people in to see the pain and the struggle, but not the actual, real life of it. You know.
Yeah. And I mean, that it has much more impact if you can actually see something and play out, and you can relate to it.
I agree.
Yeah, because I couldn't really. This is a movie that because we watch movies all the time, which we have not lived in experiences of, but we can relate to those experiences because of the storytelling. This is one that I felt so disconnected from it because I was like, you're just telling me everything, and it feels like if I'm just reading like a pamphlet or something like that. It's not really.
It was a
really
little surface. Yeah, it was a little surface.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Mammooty's performance was deep and sensitive, and I like how he was sort of trying to hold it together, and that was great. Yeah. But I feel like they didn't give him anything else. I mean, that's all he got to do. He didn't really get to.
And you have an actor like Mammootty that can basically do anything. Like all the things we talked about, he could have played like they could have shown him in moments of anger, of who he is, because that's what people go through. Like, yes, he internalizes it, but I would love to see the anger actually not hitting anybody, but just how he deals with it personally. Mm-hmm. But yeah. That's basically. I think we're on the same page, and I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. Like, let us know what you thought about this movie, because this movie is definitely it's got a lot of recognition and it deserves a lot of recognition. Yes. But we'd love to know what people thought about it. Like, did they also have the same things that we had, or did they just like the way this was perfect? Let us know in the comment section. We'd love to know. But Kathy, thanks. It was an awesome conversation.
Thank you. It was so fun to do this, and I enjoyed watching the movie. Even though I had my problems with it, I did really enjoy the movie.
Yeah. So. Definitely. Me too. But thanks guys for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye.